I'm Mike Lyons, your host for another oral history interview for the Jacksonville Broadcasters Association. The association's purpose is to preserve the rich history and contributions of the area's radio, television, and broadcasting industries. The association is open to those past and present broadcasters in our area, those affiliated with the region's broadcasting industry, and entities who have served this region's proud broadcasting heritage. We welcome students who are focusing their careers on the broadcasting industry. It's September of 2023. Our guest today is Jennifer Kumik Candelino, a former WTLV reporter and an original member of the first Jacksonville Jaguars broadcasting team, eventual director of broadcasting. Jennifer, thank you for being with us and doing this today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
You bring up a lot of memories, but
oh yeah.
I want to start in Fort Lauderdale at Plantation High School. That's
Correct.
where you went to high school.
Yes.
Any thoughts in high school of being in the broadcasting industry?
Probably by the time I was a senior, but while I was in high school, I really took a liking to my sciences, and at the time, and don't ask me exactly why, but my goal was to be a biomedical engineer, which, I mean...
What is that?
I wanted to make prosthetics.
Okay.
You know, there wasn't any particular experience or somebody that I knew. I don't know. It might have been my science teacher that we had a lesson that day, and I was like, I want to do that. But it really speaks to what our teachers do and how they can influence our, youngsters and our teenagers and get them to have a passion and a desire for something. But as high school went on, I became involved with student council and had a number of opportunities to, be in speaking roles and leadership roles. And again, a testament to our sponsor for student council, Mike Lyons, who was just so instrumental in empowering the students at the school to just be natural leaders, and we had a Christmas tree sale every year, and I mean, we ran that. From start to finish, overnight, students were babysitting the trees to make sure they were safe and secure, and he just did an amazing job at bringing out the best in us as leaders. So with that,
I think you told me in high school you also, like me, were on the debate team.
Right. Well, so the more I thought about it, when we had the discussion, I'm like, I don't ever remember going to competitions, but we had some sort of debate. I remember because I would have to write, arguments in the debate that we had. So I don't know if it was something we didn't. I don't ever remember traveling. Maybe I wasn't good enough to make the travel team. I don't know. Right. But I do remember just enjoying the writing process and the speaking process, and I just gained a lot more confidence as time went on. And our school was involved in something called the Southern Association of Student Councils, and we traveled to Pennsylvania to have a convention with other other schools, and then we hosted a convention at our school one year, and Joe Robbie, who was the owner of the Miami Dolphins at the time, was our guest speaker. Mm-hmm. So we met him in the front of the school, myself and the other co-president for student council. We got to ride around the side of the school in his limousine, and he offered each of us 4 tickets to a Dolphins game that following week. I want to say they played the Jets. And I was just so enamored with how kind he was and generous he was, and how encouraging he was to what we were doing as young leaders. So it was a memory I had from that. But yeah, so once I left high school, I was like, I kind of like this communication thing. I wasn't quite sure it was going to be broadcasting at the time. Right,
and you went to then college was Florida Atlantic, did you say?
I earned a scholarship to Florida Atlantic University, and so I went there my freshman year and half of my sophomore year, which is in Boca Raton. And at the time, it was more of a commuter school, but I did live on campus, where there was a small number of us who lived on campus. And I enjoyed the experience, but I knew that I wanted to get into the telecommunications school at Florida. And quite a few of my friends had gone to Florida at the time, and so I ended up transferring the middle of my sophomore year.
So you went to Florida in Gainesville, a very good school for broadcasting, really, because number one, they had a TV station and a radio station at the school. Right. That had to be a great place for you.
Right. I mean, it just provided so many wonderful opportunities to be able to work on your craft as a student, and under the leadership of Tom Krinsky, who is still a professor there. I'm not quite sure what his capacity is now, but I mean, he was, again, I've been so fortunate along the way to have amazing mentors and, teachers and professors who have really helped guide at me at every step of the way, no matter what I do. But he was instrumental in me developing as a young broadcaster. So some of the memories are a little foggy, sometimes photos, and I have friends to this day, we're friends on Facebook, or we still communicate in person that, I went to school with, that we, share some of our experiences. I remember working at the radio station, I guess it was called The Morning Drive, and Jeff Prosser, who is, still on radio right
In
now, worked side by side with him.
Another guy you mentioned to me was Mike Neighbors.
Mike Neighbors, we also worked together.
And he eventually became the sports weekend guy at 12, I believe.
Correct. And now he's
Ken Thomas, who's directing this, told me New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay, because he was with Tampa and New Orleans, yeah. So we still stay in touch to this day. And then also had an opportunity to work at the television station affiliated with the University of Florida. So it's funny, we had tryouts for all of the positions, and I did an audition for the weather, and as soon as I had to turn, because it was on the green screen, as soon as I had to turn to point and coordinate with, I was like, nope, I'm out. Like, I remember saying, this isn't what I want to do. So I did reporting and anchoring, but at the time it wasn't like you were a designated anchor or reporter. You got a chance to try your
But with those stations there, that was a big opportunity to get some experience right out the gate, and with some people you were working with and your mentors that really helped.
Yes, absolutely. And, I feel like, I can't rave enough about what the university, and that was back in, the late 80s. So imagine what, their facilities are like now. And
You were a huge football fan of the Gators?
Yes. Grew up, so I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio. We moved to Florida when I was 10 years old, and what you did on weekends was you watched football. So we were big Cleveland Browns fans, or at least my family was, so I was too. And then we moved to South Florida and started following the Dolphins and the University of Miami Hurricanes. And yeah, we were huge football fanatics. Just when I moved to Gainesville, obviously became an instant Gator fan. But
Ohio State part of that up there?
So, at one point I had 17 cousins. Unfortunately, over time, some of them have passed. But yeah, a majority of them went to Ohio State, and some went to John Carroll, some went to Kent State. But yeah, we're the only part of my family that moved to South Florida. Things got really interesting back when the Gators played Ohio State. Those years, when Urban Meyer went over to Ohio State. Yeah, there was a lot of jawing going on with the family. But yeah, football has always been such a big and integral part of my life. So, teaser for what's to come in my career.
So you left college, you left Florida, and you didn't have a job at the time, so you went back home.
Right.
And worked at Macy's.
Yeah, I graduated August of 1990, which graduated days before the student murders took place. And at the time, I was getting some interest from the local station, TV 20 in Gainesville, but he just didn't have any openings at the time. I was still sending out resume tapes, but I wasn't quite ready to take the plunge to accept an offer in Arkansas doing a one-man band. I just was like, let me hold out and see if this TV 20 thing comes through, because I just, I close-knit with my family and, wasn't sure if I was ready to take that plunge. But if I had to, I would, because I had a number of friends who I graduated with that did it. And, but anyway, it all worked out.
But it worked out.
But I did. I worked in the fine china department at Macy's, so I know quite a bit about fine china as well. I mean,
Interesting. Yeah.
Got to look at the silver lining there.
But you got a call from the TV station in Gainesville.
I did.
Not the school station, but the other
station. TV 20, and I started, I believe it was December of that year. So it was really only 6 months that I was at home looking for employment. And
you already had a good feeling that maybe something might work out.
Right, which is why, like I said, I didn't accept,
right.
I didn't pursue anything else. I was really kind of holding out for that.
And they threw you into a pretty big story right away, didn't they?
Absolutely. When, when the investigation was into the student murders and Danny Rolling was named as, the main suspect, that was really part of what, our main focus was as a TV station, obviously, all of the elements of, him being a suspect and, just continuing the healing process of the community for what had happened, the students and the Gainesville community as a whole. So yeah, I was definitely thrown into the fire when it came to that. But
right. And you covered the trial.
I did.
Understand you told me, so that's a pretty big assignment for a rookie.
Yeah, but I mean, so I was one of many reporters who covered the trial, obviously, because it was all hands on deck. And back then I worked closely with Jeff Weinseer, who is now, he was at Channel 4, JXT here in town for a number of years, and now he's at WPLG, Channel 10 in Miami. So it was, like I said, all hands on deck covering that trial. And, it's just, it's something that is a part of me today, just the sadness, the fear, the personalities that, just evolved over the process of the trial. That it's something that
I've covered a few. Trials are interesting to cover.
Yes.
Especially, I mean, the way they develop and the people involved in them. And it's really amazing sometimes. Yes,
and again, like I said, I'm so fortunate that the leaders that we had in place, the attorneys that were a part of the trial, the judge that was able to manage, because obviously this was us, the local station covering it, but it was an international story that you can imagine the lines of satellite trucks. And
were cameras in the courtroom then?
I think there was one pool camera from my recollection.
It in there,
yeah.
So that started in our day. The cameras.
Right,
in the courtroom. So.
But I, besides covering that, I covered everything from hurricanes to city council meetings to other trials that went on, and just grateful for the experience that I had there. And Paige Beck, who is still the 6 and 11 anchor there, again, a wonderful mentor who was able to, provide guidance along the way for me as a young reporter. And think about it, a TV station and a city, market like Gainesville, you're going to have a lot of beginners coming in. So, the patience that she had with all of us, and really treated us like family. I mean, I would say the entire news department was like a family. And to this day, I mean, we remain, we communicate on Facebook and share memories that we had. I mean, when we were, in it together, we would, and I was the night beat reporter. So I went in at 2:30 and ended at 11 ? Whatever time.
I know that drill.
I know that drill. Whatever time it was done. I can remember one time I had a friend visiting from out of town, and it was a slower news day. And I think I was covering some local theater event, and at 10 o'clock at night, there was a fire in Palatka. I can't remember, but it was at a plant, some sort of plant in Palatka. And yours truly, you got to go do a live shot from Palatka at 11 o'clock. But I mean, that's the business, right? And, when you're young and hungry, and I loved every minute of it. I loved the, chasing the story, and, I was accountable to my TV station to bring
a lot of adrenaline.
Yes.
To cover those things, to get you going.
Time.
Even if it's 4 in the morning and you're still there shooting the plant or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. There's, you had no sense of time when you're young, and I was able to recover a lot better than I can today if I had to, stay up all night editing something or wake up super early in the morning.
How long did you work in Gainesville at that station?
So I was there until 1994. So December of 90 to March of 1994. Correct. And at the time, I was a reporter, and then I eventually became the weekend anchor. And, again, had opportunities to grow and learn and develop and, work closely. Some people came and went just as quickly, and some people, like I said, Paige, who stayed there, for a number of years. But, another opportunity I had, TV 20 hosted the Jerry Lewis Labor Day Telethon. Oh, yeah. So here I am, 20-something years old, and as the weekend anchor, I got to be one of the hosts. And Jerry Lewis and I don't know, if they still do the training that they did back then, but I flew out to Las Vegas to get trained by Jerry Lewis and, me and a number of other television hosts from across the country. And I'll never forget, I was, remember, there were not cell phones back then. It was, and I got there, and I'm called my mom and dad from the payphone, and I'm like, and I got put up at the Sahara Hotel, which I don't believe is in existence anymore. I'm not sure. And I went right to the slot machine and I won $40. And I called him back and I'm like, I just won $40.
Wow.
I mean, so it was,
Right,
but it's
that.
a unique experience to be
I
able
went
to.
when I was at 17 in Jacksonville, hosted the, the telethon down here. So your next step after Gainesville, 4 years in Gainesville, was Jacksonville, Florida.
Right.
How did that come about?
So, you know, I obviously had a great experience, or a good amount of experience, you know, covering the Danny Rolling trial. And, you know, I had been there for a while, and I figured, let me give my try at trying a bigger market. So I sent out a number of tapes to different markets and tapes.
Many feel the pressure will be on President Bush to impose stricter trade regulations with China.
So Jacksonville was one of the markets that gave me a call. And so I was obviously familiar with Northeast Florida. And as a football fan, the Jacksonville had just been awarded the NFL franchise, Jacksonville Jaguars, and I thought, how cool would it be to go work in a city, you know, where there's an NFL football team. And yeah, so I got the opportunity to come on as a night beat reporter for Channel 12 back at the time, not First Coast News. They've since, you know, obviously become 12 and 25 now. But yeah, so that was my first experience here.
Were they
so
First Coast? You said, what were they when you started?
Just TLV 12 back in the day. Yeah. So, and I, you know, in kind of pulling some of my old memories out, I have my first contract from TLV, and I want to say I made a whopping, I have it, I don't know, maybe it was like $23,000 a year, but so I was able to, like I said, I got this opportunity. I worked alongside now Mayor Donna Deegan. She was the
a lot of people
nighttime
at
anchor.
12 mentors and people you work with, and they were there a long time. In addition to Donna, that
Roger Weeder.
Roger, I worked with him a long time. Great guy. Bill Zetterauer. Bill and Mike Bunker, the photographer there, and just on and on. Steve Smith there when you were there?
He sure was.
Right, we did one of these with Steve as well, but a lot of people, good people that you were able to.
A lot of great people in the business, yes. And again, you know, they just were there as great mentors for me and helped encourage me, and you know, I quickly got to know the city and grew to love it.
To play in Jacksonville. Jacksonville is playing a major role in the team's effort to prepare for the World Cup. In the next month and a half, the United States World Cup soccer team will travel all over the country, and there's a reason why they started off in Jacksonville.
And grew to love it, and I knew that this was home. I mean, you know, when you're a young reporter, you know, of course, first a biomedical engineer went out the window, right? So then you get into the business, and then you know, your aspiration is to be the next Barbara Walters. But you start to, you know, get to know the people of a community, and you know, you make friends. And I just, like I said, I knew this was.
And you liked the town of Jacksonville.
I did, yeah, I did, and have, you know, since watched it grow and develop into what it is today. And I'm very proud to be a longtime resident.
You were not at WTLV TV 12 very long. You did this job for 8 months.
Right.
Okay, why only 8 months? What happened?
So I know when I said this is home, I guess I didn't mean this TV station, but Jacksonville. So, you know, the Jaguars had their inaugural season in 1995. And as they were building as a team behind the scenes, they really wanted to have a broadcast division be able to share what's going on behind the scenes to the community, who was so excited about having an NFL team. So WTLV was the official station of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they wanted to do a program which became called Jaguars Journal.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Kumik, and welcome to Jaguars Journal. This week we're at the Jacksonville Landing, where we're gearing up for a celebration on November 30th.
And it was a weekly magazine show, a half-hour magazine show that basically shared what's going on. How are we building the team? What's going on from the coaching side of things? What's going on from the stadium side of things? And that was what they, I hosted the program. So Peter Schurmeyer at the time, who was in charge of broadcasting, brought me in, and I don't know exactly why me, but I was super grateful for the opportunity and the experience. I'm assuming they wanted a female voice.
You were working with 12 there. You weren't working at 12 and helping the Jaguars, and then eventually went to the Jaguars. You went directly to the Jaguars broadcasting team out of 12.
Right. I mean, there might have been a little bit of overlap at the time. I think initially they weren't quite sure if this was going to be a full-time staff that they were going to have, the Jaguars. So I want to say there was probably some overlap while I was hosting the show, but not for too long, because we quickly realized that there was a lot to share and a lot to produce, because obviously we didn't have a team at the time on the field, but you had the coaches show, and there was a lot of creativity with things that we could do to kind of.
So you're on the ground floor with the Jaguars broadcasting division, and with some new people. They were there for what was that like? That had to be just a lot of fun, and just had a lot of value in just getting it going and working it out.
If I could look back at what I was a part of, I would probably be overwhelmed, because we were all kind of young and dumb at the time. I mean, we obviously had our talents that we brought to the table, and we were young and hungry, but we didn't know what we were building, what we were a part of. It was just kind of, as we went along, it evolved into what it was. But yeah, I mean, when you say ground floor, I mean that, or you could say trailer, because that's where we worked. We worked out of the trailers that were outside of the stadium that was being built to accommodate, an NFL team at the time. So, I got brought in at the same time Brian Sexton was brought in to be the play-by-play announcer. I want to say at the time he was the youngest play-by-play announcer in the NFL. And then Matt Robinson got brought in. Obviously, he has, his ties to the Jacksonville community as the color analyst. And, there was a lot of training and preparation behind the scenes to get ready for that inaugural season.
And you ended up, you worked closely with the Weavers, especially Dolores.
Yes.
And you worked on a project that she was involved in that I'm well aware of. That was really interesting and good, too.
Yes, it's Jaguars Teen Talk, and initially it was a teen pregnancy prevention initiative. When it first started, in fact, I was not the host of the initial one. It was a collaborative effort with all of the TV stations, and it was a town hall, a live town hall that was carried on all the local stations at the same time. I mean, it's just unheard of to have something like that unless you have a State of the Union address, and this is back before cable is what it is today. So, and you had all of the local TV stations covering this town hall. I mean, it really is so much credit to Dolores Barr Weaver and what she was able to do, and how passionate she was for, the causes that she had to help young adults in the community. She did so much charitable
work in this community that and you really had to love her. She's just an outstanding person.
She and Wayne Weaver were just wonderful examples of the community, and obviously they brought football to Jacksonville. So, they're most notably known for that, but the community work that they did and continue to do is just exemplary.
The one thing you showed me there, you got this football here that you got.
Yes. So, that is the game ball from the Jaguars' first win. October 1st, 1995, the then Houston Oilers. It was a thrilling win on the road. Unfortunately, it was on the road, but we all got to enjoy it, and I'm sure everybody at home did as well. But the fact that I have a game ball from the first victory really speaks to how we were treated as family, and probably to this day, they still are, at the stadium. But when we would do our work, whatever program we would produce, whether it was Jaguars Journal or, the Tom Coughlin Show, we had the opportunity to produce a number of other programs throughout the year that the local stations would broadcast, or the official station would broadcast. We had a day in the life of Tom Coughlin. On the road with the Jaguars, all this behind the scenes. We would do a number of season in review shows, season preview shows, and almost every time we would produce a program, that was a special, we would call it, obviously. We would get notes from, the front office, from even Tom Coughlin, who he would take the time to congratulate us on, something that and go figure, right? He's a head coach of an NFL team that he's trying to build from the ground up.
Some of the notes that he sent you, just
yes.
handwritten notes.
Handwritten notes.
So I know you had a lot of respect for him, but he got mad at you once.
He did get mad at me. Well, he got mad at me a few times because really we were a bit of a speed bump for him. Like he.
You were in the way.
We were in the way. I mean, we learned to have a not he and I, but he in the broadcasting department, because here he has to come in and take time out of his day to do a coach's show for even though it was only a half an hour.
He'd rather be working on X and O's.
He'd rather be working on X's and O's. Yes. So he tolerated us. But one time we were doing an interview with Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell, Thunder and Lightning, when they were in their prime. And we did an interview for one of our programs, and the schedule changed. Of course, this is a football team, so they can change it whenever they want. We did not catch wind of the schedule change, so Coach had moved practice up. Jimmy and Keenan, who were in the locker room with us at the time doing the interview, also didn't catch wind of the change in schedule.
They were late. That's a no-no with Tom.
They were late, yes. And so as the director of broadcasting, I got the call into the office. And, I can't remember exactly what was said because I was just trying to hold it together because I was petrified, absolutely petrified. And I can remember the veins sticking out of his neck, and he was just pointing his finger and, you can't, this is a football team, you can't. But I mean, never one time did an expletive come out of his mouth. He was always very respectful.
And he sent you a follow-up note.
He sent a follow-up note, a handwritten follow-up note, and said, I appreciate your apology. Mistakes happen, and it was an honest mistake. I can appreciate it.
I believe he said in there, I read it, that you listen to me, I'll tell you how this business
yes,
works.
Of course. I mean, it's, it's Tom's way or the highway. But you know what? Like I said, he cared, and he managed everything in that team.
NFL Hall of Famer in your book.
Absolutely, he deserves it, and I hope he gets in next year because he's healthy and he can enjoy it, and well deserved, because obviously he accomplished so much in Jacksonville, but with the Giants as well.
Right. How long did you work with the Jaguars?
So I was there from '94 until after the 2001 season. I got married in 2000, and I was 31 at the time, and my husband and I knew we wanted to start a family. And so I, between working, depends on the day. Sometimes you'd start at 5 a.m. if you had a coach's show, or sometimes you'd start later and work till 1 a.m. if you had a show to have edited. Wow. And then traveling, I obviously got to travel with the team and do their sideline reporting and the pregame show and all that. So it was a lot if we wanted to try and start a family. So I stepped down as the director of broadcasting, but continued to freelance and did a lot of their pregame shows and radio for home games, and did that for a number of years, and then evolved into doing the Jags Teen Talk, which, like I said, initially it was live, but after a number of years it became a taped program, and the local TV stations would air it when they had, opportunities.
A lot of people might remember you. You're on TV doing commercials a lot. That's how I remember seeing you all the time. And how did that evolve?
Right. Yeah, I really rode that TV career as long as I could into the sunset. Right. So while I was doing some of the freelance work for the Jaguars broadcasting department, I also had an opportunity to do some local television commercials, and I think me not necessarily being affiliated with any one TV station gave me that opportunity. So I started doing my first commercial. My son Ross was 6 months old, so that was back in 2003. I did my first Sun Tire commercial, which now they're Mavis Tire. And then over the years, did a few other commercials. I know I did Snyder Air Conditioning and Dream Doors and Osteen Volvo. So I had, you know, like I said, a great opportunity to be able to do some commercials that way. And then, you know, also MC some local events. And even just a couple years ago, 2 years ago actually, I was a moderator for the Wolfson Children's Hospital, the Florida Forum, and I got to interview Tim McGraw, which was a great opportunity, and got to, you know, help share his story in front of some great donors who were contributing to the Wolfson Children's Hospital.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, Jackson, you were part of a team, the broadcasting team.
Yeah. And
those people are still very, very good friends of yours. What was that like, developing that team, and just, you were all new together?
Right, right. Like I said, at the time we were, you know, I was what, 25, 26 years old. We were all pretty young at the time and had this amazing opportunity. Like I said, if we realized how incredible it was at the time, I mean, it was just unheard of, you know. But yeah, we still keep in touch and are friends. And I know, obviously Brian still does, you know, work with the team, and Elisa Abbott, who worked in the PR department initially, who was also there from the very beginning, and she is now Shad Khan's executive assistant. So there's a few that.
Talking to her a lot.
Yeah. So we're still very good friends, and yeah, no, I mean, it really, like I said, it was a family, and David Selden, who was the president at the time, made sure to let us know we were just as much a part of the team as the players on the field. And the day of our first game, he sent out an email to the team, and I printed it out, and it just said, when that team takes the field, we all take the field, and we're, you know, so incredibly proud of the job that everybody has done, and, you know, let's get this win. So unfortunately we didn't get it
huge
until
Jags
October
fan
1st.
To this day. I'm sure you are a huge Jags fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there have been some rough years, and you know, and it looks like there might be a turning of the tide.
Things are looking up.
Yeah, things are looking up. But remember, you know, I was an original Cleveland Browns fan, so I'm familiar with going through some rough times.
Right.
But
just some quick things real quick. What would you say to young people wanting to get in broadcasting? What would you tell them?
you know, I would tell them to look for people who are going to be willing to mentor you and share their ideas and share their time with you. And if you don't have that, you know, you work harder, and, you know, do the best you can to prepare yourself, educate yourself, and always keep your ears open and listen. And just take a back seat for a minute and watch others and learn from them. And you know, you can. But hard work
Right.
gets you a lot of places.
Our time's up just about, but I want to give you a chance to brag on your kids, because I followed them in the past. I read the sports page every day. I was a sportscaster before for a while, but you got 3 kids that are playing college ball and pretty good, and they were great in high school here. I mean, they were like what, athletes of the year.
Yeah, no.
Tell me about them real quick.
So I have 3 kids. Olivia is now 21. She's a soccer player. She's a forward at Auburn University. She had the amazing experience of winning 3 state championships at bowls.
Soccer player of the year too here.
Yep.
One of those years too, right?
Yes, and then Ross is a sophomore at the University of Wisconsin, and he's on the basketball team. And you know, he too had a great career. He was part of the Ponte Vedra basketball team that went to the state championship for the first time ever, and they made it to the final game, but fell short in the final game. And then Jillian is a freshman at the University of Tennessee, and she runs distance.
Cross-country athlete of the year in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes. The program that she was a part of under Tony Ryan at Bowles is
so
like
Gators
a small
football,
college program.
Right. So Gators football, Jaguars football, all the athletics of your kids. You're big time into sports, and you still got to follow it.
Yes.
Really good. Right?
Yes. Well, we love it. I mean, you know, ESPN's on at our house most of the time, and you know, it's usually this time of summer when there's, you know, before football starts, and we're big Yankees fans, so that hasn't been a very good year for us. So we haven't been watching Yankees games in the interim, but yeah, we do love sports. My husband played basketball at Marquette, and actually was drafted by the then Montreal Expos out of high school. And suffered an injury, so that's when he finished his career at Marquette.
That explains the fine athlete.
Yeah, they got it from him. I mean, I play middle-aged women tennis nowadays, but.
Well, we love the fact that you came to Jacksonville, Florida, and then you stayed with us, and you worked with the Jags, and love the fact you spent this time with me today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure.